friends, welcome to Lean and Clean with Fitness Chef Christine. We are so happy today to have Coach Nathan with us, and he's got 25 years experience in the business of goodness, good transformations. He's worked with everybody from CEOs to professional athletes to just everyday housewives, you name it, he's your guy. So I am going to let him tell you about his programs and how he can help you. Take it away, Nathan.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day out there. Just like Christine said, I've had a long, extensive career in the fitness and nutrition industry. I started off as an athlete, and I started off in martial arts. So I was 9 years old. I watched the Karate Kid. He wins. The girl comes running out. I was like, Dad, I got to do martial arts. So I started off in karate. That's really how it started. And then when I was 15 years old, I saw something in the newspaper about a local Taekwondo school, and they were getting kids ready for Junior Olympics. And at that point, I had the desire, I want to go to the Olympics. Taekwondo's in the Olympics, karate at the time was not. So I said, I'm going to go check this out. So I got in there and I was watching the kids, and now I'm 15 and I have a black belt in karate. But I was watching these kids that were half my age, half my belt rank, doing things that I wasn't quite sure I could do. So I told the instructor, I said, hey, I'm going to give you my belt and I'll start over. Right. So I started off in Taekwondo, went up through the ranks, took silver at Junior Olympic Nationals the next year. Oh, and then I finally made it on in 2004, to fast forward through a long career. 2004, I got to the Olympic trial qualifier. And in my second fight, I blew out my knee, tore my ACL, tore my meniscus, and that pretty much ended the Olympic run. I came back and I competed again in 2010. I was training and competing. 2011, I tore my right ACL, fractured my tibia, ended up getting blood clots and pneumonia. Doc said, you're going to have to find something else to do. So I said, I can't fight anymore. And that's been my whole life. Went through a depression, wasn't really sure what I could do because fighting was something that I've had my whole life. So I said, why not triathlon? I think she thought something like maybe badminton or checkers, chess, right, hacky sack. I don't know, but she's at triathlon. Exactly. I was like, how hard could this possibly be? So I ended up in 2016. I ended up fast forward through that career, ended up on Team USA in an age group, and I went to the World Championships in Spain for duathlon. So I've had a long athletic career, and throughout that whole time, I owned a gym. I started a gym in 1999, and I focused on majority of my clients have been women. And I didn't really think about it. I taught women self-defense. Majority of my clients were women, exactly, strong and powerful. And I was moving through, and then I finally decided to open up a big space. And a marketing company came in and said, hey, we're going to market to you and figure out what your niche is. Because right now you're jack of all trades to everybody. So they interviewed a bunch of people. I was still coaching women's Taekwondo at the time. And he said, Bob, my marketing guy said, if you want to make your life really simple, and he said, you can do deconditioned population. You could do chronic illness, which was not a big thing at the time. You could do general fitness. You could do athletes. You could do anything you want because you have a background in everything. Right. He said, but if you want to make your life really simple, you need to focus on women's fitness. And I was like, women's fitness? And he was like, yeah. He goes, look at your history. You coach all women's Taekwondo team, which is unheard of. The majority, 95% of your clientele are women. You teach women's self-defense. When I first started in Atlanta, I lived out in the suburbs, but when I moved downtown, I walked into Biggs Morrison boxing gym, which is no longer around. And I walked in and I said, hey, I needed something impactful because I knew this guy didn't know who I was. And they trained professional boxers in there. Biggs Morrison, Xavier Biggs was Terrell Biggs' brother. Terrell fought Tyson back in the 80s. So they had big names in this gym. And here's me, suburb kid coming in going, I want to teach kickboxing. So I told Xavier, I said, hey, I will teach kickboxing for free for a month. If I can't pack out classes or create value for this gym, you can just tell me to get the hell out of here and I'm done. That's all it took. I ended up doing 2 classes a day. All of my classes were packed out. I brought in a clientele, and this kind of goes back to my story about my women's fitness. Right. This is, if you've ever seen Rocky 3, when Apollo takes Rocky back to the roots where Apollo came from. Yep. That gym in there, it looked dirty. I get goosebumps talking about it. It looked dirty. It looked like it had a smell to the sweat. That's what Biggs Morrison. Yes, exactly. That's what Biggs Morrison was. So all of my kickboxers were women. So I brought a bunch of women into a stinky, smelly men's boxing gym. I didn't think about it. That was the very first start of how I got started in my career as a coach. And so Bob brought that back into it. He goes, look all the way back to the very beginning and when you started in Atlanta. You started a kickboxing program in an all men's gym, professional boxers, and you brought women in and did a whole kickboxing program. So I said, okay, I see where you're going with this. Let's do it. So we ended up changing the name and it was called Trinity Fitness because I focus on the body, mind, and spirit of my clients because you can't have one without the other.
Yes, you need that.
You can have good nutrition. Exactly. It's a full thing, right? And that's the three parts. So that's where the Trinity came in, is the three parts of a person, the three parts of my client, and the development of each one of those in kind of a triangle, because each part is important and they fade into the other parts and they help build those other parts. So I had my, say again?
I just want to ask a quick question. So do you usually start at the top, start with mindset first, or do you just do it in a total package?
So what I did, now I fell into this back in my early career because of the fact that I was an athlete. A lot of grit and determination, and even it was mental fortitude, but it was the fuel behind it was my physical aggression to get it done.
You also had to believe in
and
yourself to compete.
As I've gotten older, I would focus on the nutrition and I would focus on the physical part. And in that, especially if we're talking about like the women's Taekwondo program, I would take some women that had never competed in any sport before, put them in a full contact knockout win sport.
Right.
They would win a national championship and then come back and completely change their life. I again did not know what I was doing at the time, but it was women's empowerment through physical fitness.
Right.
You're changing somebody so much, because if you go to a national championship and you win,
you're like,
what can you not do when you get back?
Sure.
You know what I mean? You're able to do anything that you want to do.
But that's getting that mentality.
Exactly. And that's where I started over time, as I matured as a coach, I started realizing it's more about the mental part first, because I had some women. We worked with a lot of different women with a lot of different issues. We had women's issues or things that we came in. I don't mean issues in a negative way, just things that are just daily stuff.
Different. I get it.
Exactly. I had one client. She would come in and she would lose, and her goal was to lose a little over 100 pounds. So she would come in, we would see some phenomenal progress. She would lose 20, 25 pounds. Then all of a sudden, we wouldn't hear from her. She wouldn't show up for her training sessions. She wouldn't answer her phone, because at the time we didn't have a lot of text messaging going on.
Right.
A lot of stuff was happening and we couldn't figure out what it was. Then she would show back up at the gym, had gained the weight back, start over again. So I went deep with her, and me being a guy in a women's gym, I had to know where my lane was, but I also knew that they came here for a reason. And I had a job to do, and that was to help them.
Yeah.
So I asked her just flat out, I said, were you sexually abused at a certain age? What did you look like when you were younger? And she showed me these pictures. So what she had done was she had taken the past of her assault, and she realized that if I'm an attractive woman,
you're open to that.
I have a chance of being assaulted.
Right.
So she was hiding behind the heavy weight. And every time she started to lose weight and get to where she was getting back into it and getting that confidence back, she would regress back to, I don't want to do that because I don't want to experience that trauma again.
Right.
But obviously that trauma, the chances of that not happening again or happening again are very unlikely. But she had put that in her head we would teach in a women's self-defense classes. We would have women that would come in and say, I wish I would have taken this before I got assaulted or before I got attacked. But you are where you are in that moment. So what I did was I started looking back. I started doing some assessment and thinking. I was like, you know what? The mindset, it doesn't matter how physically fit your program is and it works. It doesn't matter how dialed in your nutrition is and if it works, because if the person's mind's not right, you're not going to get to where you want to go, because unconsciously the subconscious is more powerful than any conscious intention that you want. Yep. So I started realizing say again?
It's not going to be long-term fix if your mind's not right. You have to up and down.
You'll regress back to where you wanted to go or where you were. So you constantly will keep going, you'll go get some progress, but something will pull you back to that baseline to where you're comfortable with.
Right.
Even though you're like, no, I'm not comfortable being fat. I'm not comfortable being broke. I'm not comfortable being this. It doesn't matter. Something in your subconscious is holding you from getting to where you want to go. So we started Q&A and asking questions and asking more and more. I started getting into hypnosis. I started getting into NLP. I started getting into thinking like regression of things and going back and asking people targeted questions to figure out if there's something in the past that's going to hold us back, because I give a 100% money back guarantee on my programs. And I mean that. So if I can't deliver the goods, I don't believe that you should pay. I'm in the only industry, you and I, in the only industry in the world where if somebody doesn't get results, they blame themselves and not the trainer or the book or the program. If I go to a doctor and he screws up my knee, it's malpractice. If I go to a mechanic and he blows my engine up because he doesn't put the oil back in after the oil change, I get a new engine. But in the fitness and I go and I don't realize that I'm going for a gimmick, and they sell me this gimmick and they promise me that it's going to work, and I don't get the result.
Right.
I blame myself. And now I have a lack of confidence. I don't believe that.
It's a cycle.
Exactly. It's perpetuated. That's where
I'm so sorry. Anybody at all that's talked to me knows I am I have some real problem with the fitness industry. Like, I love what we do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot out there that can be very hurtful for people, especially people that are struggling. But that's why I have you on, because I have trusted coaches on. I have people that I know what they stand for. I know what they do. I have watched you. I know that you're legit. I know you have a long history, and I'm a fan. So, of course, I want you on here. Now, before we get too far along, can you tell me what kind of programs you have online? Because you're international, and so people need to know that, hey, this greatness they can get for themselves.
I appreciate that. One of the if you're on the fence and you're like, I don't know if I'm really ready to jump into a full program yet, my best program to get your feet wet is my 21-day body transformation challenge, and it's at 21daybodytransformationchallenge.com. It's 21. Say again.
You'll have to send me the link so that I can put it in the show notes for everybody.
Sure, absolutely. So it's 21 days. It's broken up into 3 segments. It's not a long program. It's you can see it on a calendar on 1 month. Right. And it focuses on nutrition. It focuses on fitness. It focuses on mindset. And it's for anybody. There's 3 levels of the program. So if you're somebody that's never worked out before and you're a 70-year-old grandmother, or if you're a professional or former athlete that has been physically fit for a long time, but maybe fallen off the wagon or had a great career, retired, and now has moved on to business and maybe gained 10, 15, 20 pounds. Somebody that has chronic illness, or somebody that's physically fit now, but they want to get to another level, but they can't because they're overtraining. So it's a program that's designed just for everybody.
I was overtraining. It was a thing.
Me too. I had really bad adrenal fatigue. Yep. So I had really bad adrenal fatigue for a long time because of overtraining. And that's where I switched my focus to really focusing on people with chronic illness and reversing high blood pressure, diabetes, PCOS, thyroid problems, because all chronic illnesses come from, and all disease comes from inflammation in the body. Right. So if we can heal the gut, decrease inflammation, you can reverse your chronic illness, and we won't have disease anymore.
One thing I love about you work with everybody. You're not specific to an age, a level of accomplishment, because not everybody's at the same level, but we all need the help. Right. So it's great to have somebody who's so knowledgeable in so many different areas, create a program that you tailor for each person. So you have your 21-day program, but I believe you have a longer program too. Am I correct?
Yes. So I have a 12-week program. That's where we really get into the nuts and bolts. I have some continuity stuff too. I have a online membership where you can pay a monthly fee and you can get access to daily workouts. There's so much stuff in there. Nutrition, fitness, mindset. I have hypnotherapy CDs in there, or MP3s now, CDs. But there's so much tapes, 8 tracks.
Records.
Yeah, but I know it's like 8-track. What is that? But yeah, there's so much content in there for everybody. There's challenges, there's quizzes in there. There's lots of stuff on my monthly program, and I'm constantly updating and adding things in there. So I've got like the 21-day program is for somebody that needs to a gentle start, or hey, you know what? I just met this guy, and there's a money back guarantee on the program as well. I just met this guy and I don't want to invest a lot in his programs yet. I want to see if he can deliver the goods. And if weight loss is the goal in the 21-day program, the average weight loss, when weight loss is the goal, is between 12 and 15 pounds. We really decrease a lot of inflammation, and 15 pounds of weight loss in 21 days, it's pretty significant. You're going to be like, yeah, what else can I do? And if I'm feeling better, sleeping better, I don't have brain fog anymore, or I've decreased my brain fog, I'm active, I'm feeling good, what's next on the list of programs? So I can customize programs for somebody. If somebody comes in, like right now, I'm working with my former strength coach, and he lives up in Virginia, and we're working on some stuff for him. So he knows the fitness part because he used to do strength and conditioning training, but we're working more on his nutrition. So I've customized a monthly program for him to work on his nutrition, get his nutrition dialed in, and get him where he wants to go. He's already lost, I think, 20 pounds now. That's awesome. So that's one thing. Now my 12-week program is a start to finish part, and that's really for somebody that wants to decrease inflammation and reverse chronic illness. Within 12 weeks, we can really get somebody dialed in with the nutrition, with the fitness, with the rest and recovery and the healing part, to help somebody start to reverse the chronic illness. Now, if you've had diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and if you've had it for the last 30 years, it may not reverse all the way to pre-diabetes in 12 weeks.
Right.
But you will be so far along the journey that you'll have bought in, and you realize, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, it's just a matter of time before I get to the other side, where I get from dis-ease back to ease. So that's the thing, is 12 weeks, 3 months, 90 days, and it's broken down week to week, and it's customizable. I have templates for people that need baby steps versus somebody like a client I used to have. He was going to die in less than a year if he didn't change his ways. He basically poured out his cup of knowledge and said, fill it up with whatever you've got. I will do it. He's probably, I was talking about this the other day to somebody, he's probably my client that conformed to everything I told him to do when I told him to do it. There was no, oh, I didn't get to it today. Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I thought I could substitute that. It was black and white for him. He lost 120 pounds in 6 months. So and it's all in the mental. He was going to die. He literally said, I don't want to die. Help me. And when it gets to that point, which I wish we were more active versus reactive, right? But since we're not, right, most of us aren't. We wait till something happens and then we react to it. His reaction was, I don't want to die. I will do whatever it takes. And that's highly motivated. Yes. But I've worked with some people that have diabetes, have had blood pressure. And I'm like, okay, how's your nutrition this week? I'm not. And I'm like, how bad do you want this? Because I can want it for you, but you have to want it for yourself. Your why has to be big enough and just bigger than everything else. Yes. And then you'll succeed. And that's where the mindset comes in. And I work with people to really dig down 7, 8 of why, to really get down to the nitty gritty of what is making that person tick, and figure out why do you want what you want? Is it a nice to have? Is it a kind of, sort of, I'd like to have? Or is it something I have to have this? And that's the difference in whether or not somebody succeeds at something or not.
Now, are you fully online only, or do you have in person as well?
I periodically, because I have a reputation in Atlanta, if somebody calls me and says so-and-so referred you to me, I will see somebody in person. Right. But it's hard. I don't do that a lot, right? Because you're going to pay a lot for that. And it takes away from what I'm trying to do online, because I have to drive somewhere or I have to meet somebody somewhere. Everything that I can do. And for people, I think the last couple of years has proved that you can do things successfully online. You don't need somebody, especially with Atlanta traffic. It could take me an hour to get 10 miles down the road and an hour back. Or if somebody's coming to me, they're late. And you're a personal trainer, if you've got people back to back to back and one person's late, it messes up everything. So this way I can design a complete system and program for somebody. If you, Christine, decide, hey, I want to work out at 6 o'clock in the morning, go ahead. If you want to work out at 10 o'clock at night, go ahead. I have some guys in the military that will work out at 2 a.m. I'm not coming to see you at 2 a.m. I'm not sitting up for you at 2 a.m. But you will have all of the structure that you need to just execute. All the work is done. You just have to do the physical part. You have to do the sets and the reps. So that's why the other part, when I closed my gym, I realized that I was restricted by brick and mortar. I truly believe that I have found my purpose, and having a brick and mortar constructed me and restricted me to that because of the bills and the overhead and keeping that running.
Yes.
But every time I go and speak, exactly. Right. And I didn't feel like I was being fulfilled anymore. I felt like I was just running on a hamster wheel.
Yes. So now,
but my whole thing is to get, say again.
Now you're able to focus on your clients and give them your absolute best and not run around like a crazy person. It's important. I think that's wonderful. So how can someone get in touch with you? You're going to give me the links so they can contact you. Then do they get on a call with you, or how do they go forward? How do they know what to do next?
So if somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, I would like to learn a little bit more about your program. So what I do is I give them, we schedule a Zoom call. Usually they're about 20 minutes to get started.
Okay.
There's nothing to buy on that call. I'm going to just talk to you for 20 minutes, figure out what your goals are, figure out what you think your issues are, see where you want to go. And can I even help you? Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'll sell everybody my program, but do I even know that I can help you? And are we a right fit? Do we get along? Do we talking good? Because I've had coaches that I don't work well with, and I've had clients that I don't work well with. And if I would have talked to them a little bit in the beginning, then we could have figured that out, and I could have redirected them to somebody else that might be a better fit for them. So we talk for about 20 minutes, overview of figure out what you want to do. And then we decide where are we going to go from there. I can give you some helpful tips if that's where you're at, or if you're ready to go ahead and get started, then we will talk about what are the next steps. What do we need to do next? Usually it's a little bit of a Q&A process where I have them write out a bunch of questions or answers to questions and then figure out where they are. And then based on that, then I put them in the right direction on what programs that I have that would best fit their needs. Because somebody just starting off, you're like, I'm not ready to jump in. You can hear it in the tone. I'm going to direct you to my 21-day program. Let's start with that first.
Yeah.
If you've had training in the past, you're very specific on what you need and very detailed on what you need, then I might say, okay, then let's do a monthly program, or let's do the 12-week program. Let's figure out that part. And then once we get that first initial goal, then we reassess as we're getting closer to that goal. Now we're going to move on to this, or now we're going to move on to that, and we'll keep moving forward. And it's a lifelong journey if that's what you want. I've had clients that have been with me for 8, 10, 15 years because they keep getting fed and the goals keep changing.
But that really says a lot about you as a trainer, because that doesn't happen to everybody. People are short term. And so to have somebody with you that long just speaks volumes of what you do. That's amazing. And I think it's worth everybody taking some time to investigate what Nathan does, because I love watching your videos, especially the mobility drills and stuff, because as we've gotten older, the joints and muscles get a little tighter. You got to keep working those things. So I think everybody should follow you on socials. I will link those below as well. So make sure that you contact Nathan and really spend some time going through his information. You'll be amazed, and really check out his programs, because if you have a heart to change where you're at right now, reaching out to a coach is going to further you along so much faster than trying to figure it out yourself. When I was trying to go in perimenopause, trying to figure out what the heck my body was doing, the best thing I ever did was hire a coach, because I had no idea. Even with the knowledge that I had on fitness and nutrition, I couldn't figure out what was happening to my body. And so invest the money to get somebody who already knows what you need to do. It's like going to the doctor and getting a diagnosis and then getting meds that help you. This is the natural way to do it. It's the better way to do it. It's a long-term way to do it. Is there anything you can leave people with? Just, let's say they've never worked out in their lives. They have no idea what to do with their nutrition. Just give them a word of advice.
Number one is to have your goal. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get to where you want to go. You're going to become a different person as you go along that journey. If you really want it bad enough, then just be persistent and consistent and do daily actions. And remember that if you're doing better this week than you did last week, then that's an improvement. And if you can constantly ask yourself when you have a decision to make, is this decision that I'm about to make going to get me closer to or farther away from my goal? If you're more than not making the decision that's going to get you closer to your goal, then that's going to help you get to where you want to go. So just be consistent, be persistent, know that it's not going to happen overnight, but know that you are going to get there, because if you do the right actions over a long enough period of time, you will always get the desired result.
I love that, because I think so many people come into transformation with the thought that they only need to lose weight and that's going to fix everything. And I find such a heartbreaking reality when just you lose the weight and nothing's changed. You still feel crummy. And so
weight loss is probably the
sorry.
Exactly. Wait, no, that's okay. I think there's a delay when we're talking, because I'm sorry, but you're right. I think weight loss is probably the worst goal you could possibly have. I think you should focus on something else and allow weight loss to be a byproduct of the bigger desired outcome that you want.
Yes. And I heard your reel this morning on the scale and Thanksgiving and how that affects us. I am a big ditch your scale gal. Like I think it is worthless. It messes with your perception of yourself. And it used to dictate my day, whether I had a good day or a bad day or how I felt about myself, until I realized it's an inaccurate piece of equipment. I went, goodbye. So I think consistency, your message of consistency, and realize the goals shouldn't be just about weight loss is a great message. So I'm going to put all your info. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we're good. It's just that little delay.
I know. I'm sorry.
We're all real.
With Christmas and other holidays coming up, you're talking about the scale and ditching the scale. Give it to somebody you don't like. You can re-gift.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Re-gift your scale.
Oh, that's bad. Oh, I am going to link all your information into the show notes. And then we'll make sure that we get it out on YouTube and all the various places, so that anybody that is really looking for some life changes can contact you. And I know they'll be in good hands.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. It's always great to connect. And I'll have you back on too. So after the holidays and everything calms down, we'll do round 2.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.